So what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the channel. This video is really long overdue. Behind me sits my 32 Ford Roadster, and for those of you that follow the channel, you know why it's taken me a little while to get into this car. But for those of you who are new to the channel or haven't caught up on the story on this car, I will make it as brief as possible, I promise. This car I've actually had for a couple of months. I ended up trading a 2007 GT500 that I had for about 3 or 4 years, and I was just kind of bored with it. I was looking for something different, and this seemed like a good trade to me. The guy was willing to do some trading, so I hit him up, we talked, we met. I drove this car, and I did notice at the time that the transmission was slipping just a little bit. The guy told me it was a freshly built transmission, so I'm thinking it probably just needs a little bit of tweaking, a little adjustment. That happens on new transmissions. Not a big deal. So I felt very comfortable doing the trade. As a matter of fact, I even gave him $1,000 on top with my car because I did think that this would be a good trade, be something different, and then down the road I could trade it for something, maybe trade up to something or sell it or what have you. So I went on ahead and did the trade. He brought the car over to me, picked up my car and left. And then I took it out and drove it around a little bit, and then I started noticing there was also a little bit of a hesitation to it. So yeah, okay, that made me a little nervous, but I thought, you know what, I've got a really great mechanic that's really good on carburation, timing, things like that. That's probably all it needs, is just a little timing, a little carburation, and this thing will be running great. Well, that didn't end up being the case exactly. Ruben, my mechanic, came over, he worked on it some more. Never could get it completely right. But it still was running okay, it was doing okay, it wasn't dying, it was doing what it should be doing. It just had hesitation when you stepped on it. But if you eased into it, it was great. So not a problem. So the next thing I wanted to tackle was the transmission. So I took it down to Al's Transmission, which is my transmission shop, my go-to guy here in Turlock. And he dug into it and discovered that the transmission cooler, which happens to be inside the radiator, had sprung a leak. So long story short, everything was contaminated with transmission fluid, coolant. The engine needed to be flushed out. I needed obviously a new radiator and transmission cooler, and yes, of course, I needed a new transmission. So that ended up setting me back about $3,000 more than I really anticipated being into this car. So yeah, now maybe it's not such a great deal, not such a great trade, but hey, oh well, we're gonna make lemonade out of lemons. That's okay. So let me tell you a little bit about this car. As I said, this is a 1932 Ford Roadster. It is a fiberglass body, obviously. No fenders, no hood, no nothing. Very, very basic, which means it weighs next to nothing. I think this car weighs maybe 2,200 pounds with me in it. It's powered by a small block 350, aluminum heads, light cam, that type of thing. Nothing really major. I would guess it to be somewhere around 300, maybe 350 horsepower. And the car has a 700R transmission behind it and a Ford 9-inch posi rear end. Inside, the interior is done up very nicely, very sanitary. You will notice it does have Boyd gauges, low car shifter, tilt column. Still a very basic car. Wasn't really too crazy about the flames initially when I first saw it in pictures, but when I saw the car in person and drove it, I actually liked it a little bit better. And I gotta say, it's kind of grown on me a little bit. It kind of reminds me of the Roadster from Iron Man, and I definitely like Marvel Comics, so it's actually grown on me a little bit. Now, initially, I was thinking I was just going to go ahead and get rid of this car. I'm not really a big convertible guy, and so I just figured, you know what, I'll go ahead and send the car down the road. But I have to say, after getting it, driving a little bit, and mostly just because it looks really good here in my shop, it complements the rest of my vehicles very well, I think I'm going to keep it for a little while. It's actually a lot of fun to drive. You know, 300, 350 horsepower like I was talking about in a vehicle that weighs, like I said, maybe 2,200 pounds. It is a little rocket. It gets up and moves very, very well. You got to really be careful, especially on the low end, because this thing will start spinning, and it's started to get away from me a couple times, and I've had some kind of close calls with it, freak me out a little bit. So kind of have to respect the car for what it is. But it is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. The more I drive it, the more I'm around it, the more I see it when I come out to the shop, the more I'm enjoying it. So I think it will stick around for a little while. However, it's not a forever car. Someday someone's gonna end up making me an offer or wanna buy it or wanna do some trading that I won't be able to pass up, and that'll be the time to let this car go. Now, I think my only complaint with this car would probably be with me being the height that I am, which is about 6 foot tall. It's really not incredibly comfortable. If I'm in the seating position I need to be in, which would be right about here, I'm gonna look over the windshield, and that's just not really great, especially when you're running like above 60 miles an hour. It's not the greatest in the world. So what I end up having to do is I have to kind of scoot down the seat like this, and again, not really comfortable for my legs, but then I can see through the windshield pretty well. This still kind of is in my way, but it's much better to drive. I enjoy driving a lot better. That does mean I have to keep the wheel tilted all the way up, or I won't be able to get on the brake and the gas the way I need to do it. But overall, for just running around here, shows, just taking it out and having a good time with it, it's fine. I wouldn't want to go on a long trip with it, but hey, it doesn't have a top, so I'm probably not going to go on a long trip with it anyway. So yeah, I think that's about all I can say about this car. Let's get it out, take it around the block, and see how it does. Apologize. I know the camera was kind of making a funny noise. I don't know if with the mount or what have you. I couldn't figure it out. I tried to reshoot it and it didn't come out any better, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to give you guys kind of an idea what this thing was like to drive and ride in. Now, something I didn't mention is I did get a new carburetor for this car and had Ruben slap it on here, and I think it solved probably 90% of the problems. I still have a distributor cap coming that I want to replace because it has to be one of those two things, and I want to get this car completely right. But pretty much this car's dialed in, and quite honestly, you really can't stand on it from off the line. It just wants to spin too much, or even cruising down the road. I mean, if you're like second gear or whatever, you step into it, it drops down a gear, it gets a little squirrely. So it's a lot to handle. It's definitely a handful in that respect, but it's fun. It is a lot of fun. It gets a lot of looks, and I think it's kind of cool. So like I said, I will be keeping this car for a little while. Another thing I didn't mention about it, it does look like it's on open headers, but it's actually not. It's got some exhaust going out the back, and I mean, you can bypass them and go open header, but I don't really think I want to do that with this car. It's got just enough sound, just enough of a lumpy idle that I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, that's the 32 Ford Roadster. I'm really happy I'm finally able to get this video up. Like I said, it's taken a while. I do have some more stuff coming. As a matter of fact, let's do a quick shop update because a number of things have happened since the last video, believe it or not. So as you may or may not have noticed, the bus is finally back. It's finally done. No more fuel leaks. No more running rough. It's still a little noisy, but I think that's just the way it is. But it's running really good. Next project on this is going to be to get the rear airbags fixed because they do leak out over about 24 hours. That's why it sags so much. So I want to get that down. Hopefully by the time this video goes up, I'll have that taken care of. And the fuel gauge is still not working. The guy I had working on the bus, he told me he thinks it might be the sending unit inside the tank, which means the engine's got to come out again, which means big hassle. So I may wait a little bit on that, let Kristen enjoy this thing a little bit, maybe take it to a couple cars and coffees and things like that, and then maybe take it down during the winter or something like that and see if I can get that fixed, because I do want to get that fixed for her. Another update is the Jaguar. I actually called last week on the Jaguar, which will probably be like 2 weeks by the time this video goes up. But I told them that I entered the Jaguar in a Cars and Coffee, Winton, Ireland Cars and Coffee that I go to every year, and I want to take the Jaguar. So I told them they've got about a month to get the car done. I was told at that time that they had rolled the car in the day before, had it up on a lift, and they were starting to put it back together. So that being the case, if they jump on it and don't really get too sidetracked and hopefully nothing comes up, I should be getting it back any day. Now I know I sound incredibly optimistic, especially for someone who's been missing the car now for 7 months, but hey, I'm trying to be very optimistic on this because I really don't have any other choice at this point in time. The 64 Corvette, as you guys might remember on the last video, I did talk about it needing a clutch and ended up needing a transmission, and then ended up needing a tail housing because that was cracked. So got all back together. Eddie was taking it out, kind of fine-tuning it and driving it, and guess what? The clutch pedal broke. Yep, just snapped. So ended up having to tow it back to the shop, and we have parts coming. We're waiting on those as we speak. So hopefully that will be it. Hopefully that car's done tormenting me, and we'll come back and we'll be in good shape, good to go, ready to drive, and I will be happy about that. The DeLorean, the faithful DeLorean that I love so much. You guys remember I was having some problems with it, not wanting to idle. I was getting really frustrated with the car, but ended up replacing the RPM relay and the idle ECU, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't really know. But anyway, ended up replacing all that stuff, and that seems to have fixed the problem. I started the car up, let it run for a few minutes. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. I took it out, I drove it, put about 10 or 15 miles on it, and never missed a beat. Even with air conditioning on, it was running great. So I'm extremely happy about that. That means this car is pretty much done. There's not really a lot of stuff I want to do to it at this point in time, and that makes me very, very happy because I do love this car very much, and I do plan to keep it. If you guys didn't catch it in the last video, I did buy a 66 Mustang Fastback. I actually posted some pictures on Instagram, so if you don't follow me, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'll have everything in the description below. But yeah, this should be the next video if all goes well, or maybe I will do the video on this car right here. Yes, that's right, I did buy it. I've been talking about it, and I decided to take the plunge, and I bought this 1991 Acura NSX. It's got 55,000 original miles, and well, I'll save that for the video. But lots more to talk about definitely with this car. So definitely a video will be coming on this car very soon, and you guys can let me know. You want to see this one next? You want to see the Mustang next? You tell me. I'm game. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, Instagram, P.O. Box, and my Venmo. If you choose to support the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. As I said, anybody who supports the channel will get a shout out from me. As always, anybody is welcome in the shop at any time. Just let me know ahead of time. You're welcome to come by. You're welcome to check out the shop, hang out, or what have you. But if you're supporting the channel, I will definitely make a point to get you out in maybe a couple of vehicles and even do a video with you in it. So a little bit of, I guess, incentive for anybody who wants to support on Venmo. Yeah, I think I've plugged enough. God bless. Take care. Have an absolutely amazing day. And this seemed like a good alternative, I guess, or opportunity, so to speak. So, and this ended up seeming like a, and this ended up seeming